Let's recap the previous part. The space-time continuum of our solar system has spiraled our planetary sphere into the fourth dimension vibration, and the Earth is still fetched with some inconvenience due to the energies of the thought forms of peoples. This is causing a somewhat difficult harvest. Many will repeat the third density cycle. Those who remain in fourth density upon this plane will be of the so-called positive orientation. Many will come from elsewhere, for it would appear that with all the best efforts of all those of entities, the harvest will still be much less than that which this planetary sphere is capable of comfortably supporting in service. The fourth density is called the density of love or understanding, regardless of polarity, whether it be love of self or love towards other self. There are no words for positively describing positive fourth density. We can only explain what is not and approximate what is. Beyond fourth density, our ability grows more limited, still until we become without words. That which fourth density is not, it is not of words, unless chosen. It is not of heavy chemical vehicles for body complex activities. It is not of disharmony within self. It is not of disharmony within peoples. It is not within limits of possibility to cause disharmony in any way. Approximations of positive statements. It is a plane of a type of bipedal vehicle, which is much denser and more full of life. It is a plane wherein one is aware of the thoughts of other selves. It is a plane where one is aware of the vibrations of other selves. It is a plane of compassion and understanding of the sorrows of third density. It is a plane striving towards wisdom or light. It is a plane wherein individual differences are pronounced, although automatically harmonized by group consensus. Within the fourth density positive, there are minor amounts of catalyst of a spiritual and mental complex distortion. This occurs during the process of harmonizing, to the extent of forming the social memory complex. This causes some small catalyst and work to occur, but the great work of fourth density lies in the contact betwixt the societal self and less polarized other self. A mind-body-spirit social complex becomes a social memory complex when its entire group of entities are of one orientation or seeking. The group memory lost to the individuals in the roots of the tree of mind then becomes known to the social complex, thus creating a social memory complex. The advantages of this complex are the relative lack of distortion in understanding the social beingness, and the relative lack of distortion in pursuing the direction of seeking. For all understanding, distortions are available to the entities of the society. The purpose or consideration which causes entities to form these social memory complexes is a very simple extension of the basic distortion towards the Creator's knowing of itself. For when a group of mind-body spirits become able to form a social memory complex, all experience of each entity is available to the whole of the complex. Thus the Creator knows more of its creation in each entity partaking of this communion of entities. Positively oriented social memory complexes of third density are not unheard of, but quite rare. It is possible only in the latter, or seventh portion of such a density, when entities are harmoniously readying for graduation. As far as we are aware, there are no negatively oriented third density social memory complexes. The social memory complex is properly a fourth density phenomenon. The fourth density entities look variously, depending upon the, shall we say, derivation of its physical vehicle. The cause for a variety of so-called physical vehicles is the remaining variety of heritages from second density physical vehicular forms. The process of what we call physical evolution continues to hold sway into fourth density. Thus, the fourth density physical vehicle's appearance is similar to that used in third density. However, the chemical elements used are not the same. The space-time incarnation of typical harmonious fourth density is approximately 90,000 years as we measure time. This, to us, sounds like a great span of time, but the time moves in a different fashion within the succeeding densities to our own. The catalysts of mental and spiritual pain are used in fourth density. The use of physical pain is minimal, having only to do with the end of the fourth density incarnation. This physical pain would not be considered severe enough to treat, shall we say, in third density. We would call this variety of pain weariness. Still, the physical body needs nourishment and sleep. The delineation between waking and sleeping in higher densities is more nebulous. The sleep state of an entity in fourth density could more be related to that of our deep meditation in third density. It is less of a coma-like state of the third density sleep and more of an awareness during sleep. There lacks the confusion and the reorientation between the sleep state and the wake states. The preparation of foodstuffs is extremely simple due to increased communion between entities and living foodstuff. Therefore, this is not a significant catalyst, but rather a simple precondition of the space-time experience. The catalyst involved is the necessity for the ingestion of foodstuffs. The fourth density being desires to serve and to stop the functioning of service to others long enough to ingest foodstuffs is to invoke patience. This is not considered to be of importance by fourth density entities, therefore, it aids in the teach-learning of patience. Thus, foodstuff not only fuels the body complex, but gives entities opportunities to learn patience. The energy transfers between mated pairs continue to take place in fourth, fifth, and sixth densities. These are still of what we would call a polarized nature. However, due to the ability of these densities to see the harmonies between individuals, these entities choose those mates which are harmonious, thus allowing constant transfer of energy and the propagation of the body complexes which each density uses. The graduation into fourth density negative is achieved by those beings who have consciously contacted intelligent infinity through the use of red, orange, and yellow rays of energy. Therefore, the planetary conditions of fourth density negative include the constant alignment and realignment of entities in efforts to form the dominant patterns of combined energy. The early negative fourth density is one of the most intensive struggle. When the order of authority has been established and all have fought, until convinced that each is in the proper placement for power structure, the social memory complex begins. Always, the fourth density effects of telepathy and the transparency of thought are attempted to be used, for the sake of those at the apex of the power structure. This, as you may see, is often quite damaging to the further polarization of fourth density negative entities, for the further negative polarization can only come about through group effort. In fourth density negative, much work is accomplished during the fighting for position which precedes the period of the social memory complex. There are opportunities to polarize negatively by controlling other selves. During the social memory complex period of fourth density negative, the situation is the same. The work takes place through the societal self reaching out to less polarized other self in order to aid in negative polarization. As the fourth density entities manage to combine, they then polarize through such services to self as those offered by the Crusaders of Orion Group. Once having reached third density space-time continuum, these Crusaders may plunder as they will, due to the sincere belief of fourth density negative that to love self is to love all. Each other self which is thus either taught or enslaved thus has a teacher which teaches love of self. Exposed to this teaching, it is intended that there be brought to fruition an harvest of fourth density negative or self-serving mind-body-spirit complexes. If one entity in the social memory complex is responsible for addition of a third density entity harvested to its being, that mind-body-spirit complex will absorb, in linear fashion, the power contained, shall we say, in the recruit. Thus, the so-called pecking order is immediately challenged, and the entity with increased power exercises that power to control more other selves and to advance within the social memory complex structure. In some cases, there is a kind of battle. This is a battle of wills, and the weapons consist of the light that can be formed by each contender. In most cases where the shift of power has been obvious, it simply is acknowledged, and those seeing benefit from associating with this newly more powerful entity aided in rising within the structure. If a subgroup is responsible, the power is then this subgroup's. Only very rarely is the social memory complex of negative polarity capable of acting totally as one being. The loss of polarity due to this difficulty, to which we would refer as a kind of spiritual entropy, is quite large. The fourth and fifth densities are quite independent, the positive polarity functioning with no need of negative and vice versa. It is to be noted that in attempting to sway third density mind-body-spirit complexes in choosing polarity, there evolves a good bit of interaction between the two polarities. The fourth density is, by choice, not visible to the third density. It is possible for the fourth density to be visible. However, it is not the choice of the fourth density entity to be visible due to the necessity for concentration upon a rather difficult vibrational complex, which is the third density we experience. There is very little work in consciousness in fourth and in fifth densities compared to the work done in third density. The work that is accomplished in positive fourth is that work whereby the positive social memory complex, having through slow stages harmoniously integrated itself, goes forth to aid those of less positive orientation which seek their aid. Thus their service is their work, and through this dynamic between the societal self and the other self, which is the object of love, greater and greater intensities of understanding or compassion are attained. The qualifications for fifth density involve understanding. To achieve this graduation, the entity must be able to understand the actions, the movements, and the dance. There is no percentage describable which measures this understanding. It is a measure of efficiency of perception. It may be measured by light. Thus, the intensity of understanding continues until the appropriate intensity of the light may be welcomed. This, then, becomes the primary qualification for graduation from fourth to fifth density. This is the fourth density harvest. The ability to love, accept, and use a certain intensity of light thus creates the requirement for both positive and negative fourth to fifth harvesting. The cycle of experience is approximately 30 million years, if the entities are not capable of being harvested sooner. There is, in this density, a harvest which is completely the function of the readiness of the social memory complex. It is not structured as is our own, for it deals with a more transparent distortion of the one infinite creator.